got attention. He got the nation's attention, and people responded. They stopped behind the stuff that he was asking for, the support he was asking for. And it was 93 when he died. 1993. I was 15 when he died. I got to know him pretty well, but you know, when you're 15, I have a more adult relationship. But you know, I'll take. I can get. You know, 15's it's enough to establish some good, set in some good memories with him. But he was on a fast. He was fasting because, well, the same reason. You know, he was going to go testify against some nasty growers who were trying to, you know, I guess, sue my grandpa on the farm for something. So he liked to fast, starve himself, and he could really reach a meditative state and go in there and testify with a clear head, and really, I guess, stick it to him. But his body was weak. He'd just gone through. He probably slept an average of 4 nights, you know, 4 hours a night since probably the 60s, and those periods where he starved himself really took a toll. So that's what we think. He just died peacefully in his sleep. You know, integrity is another thing that we learned. We learned in the backcountry that the farm workers had to really take ownership of, because people counted on one another. You had to pull your weight. You had to work hard. You had to be honest, because if not, you know, this whole fabric would fall apart. And what did we quit our jobs for? You know, and you know, now we're doing nothing. Whatever. So I grew up, you know, around just a really diverse, you know, multicultural, multiracial society, and it was the same one that I saw in the CCC. I mean, it was a natural transition for me to go from high school when I was 18 to CCC, and by the way, that's where I got my first education before I went to college. So I'm really proud that I was a part of that. It's a great experience. So when you talk about my grandpa, backcountry supervisor, I get to live out my passion. I get to live out my grandpa's vision and his values, and work with you guys. I mean, I'm like overwhelmed. So thank you for having me. And I enjoyed that. So.
I've been trying to think of the right way to say this entire time we've been talking. Do you feel an obligation? You know, the family name that, you know, if you were anybody else born into another family, I mean, probably maybe wouldn't have the same pressures to get as involved as maybe you are.
Yeah.
And everything. Do you feel that way?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that I struggled with. You know, not terribly, but I did struggle with it when I was growing up. I mean, I wasn't really courted. I wasn't really brought into the farm worker movement. I didn't. You know, I was always a kid running around, and there was people busy doing things, going here, speaking. You know, speaking to halls, rallies, and I was surrounded by this stuff, and I was in the middle of it. But nobody ever thought hey, do you want to be a part of this? You know, we'll start telling you the ways of doing this. So I was never extended anything, and I don't know if they were just too busy or what. But a lot of my cousins, you know, we didn't get extended this. Some of them, you know, they were fortunate enough, you know, call it favoritism or whatever, but they got to be, you know, pulled in, you know, in the intimate climate. So I was kind of hurt by that, but I'm like, you know, when I found the CC, I was like, cool, this is my own thing, and I really loved it. So I was disappointed that I wasn't given the opportunity to I guess, carry out my grandpa's, you know, his work. But I'm glad today that I'm able to do that through the CCC. So I decided to choose my own way, and it turned out that in doing so, I found my connection with my grandpa's vision. So it worked out, you know.